The art of interpretation by Irwiny0, also known as Sam Lambert, inspired by Count Morivond. Many of us may be able to relate to each other in this one fashion, and that is our unexplainable attraction to a piece of art that we may find ourselves watching again and again, or listening to, what have you. Many a great people, even now, still do not properly understand the power of the gift known as their subconscious mind, also known as their emotional mind. In a society that is mainly dominated by honoring the servant, the conscious mind, while it is a useful tool bestowed upon us, it can be a detriment if not properly balanced, as cliché and overused as the same may be. In City Escape from Sonic Adventure 2, you may hear the phrase, and you may even be observing, "Trust your feelings, live and learn." And perhaps you may be exposed to this particular set of words. And also perhaps it may have a different effect on you than others. Perhaps its effects on you may not be consciously aware of. But as we grow older and we gain experiences throughout our lives, we then can reflect back to what we were exposed to at an earlier age, and now gaze upon it with a new angle that makes us not only possibly have a much more conscious understanding of what attracted us to that particular piece of art, or that part of art back then, but on top of that, as they say, the icing on the cake, a new understanding on top of that they may complement it. Many people who watch something watch it once and say, "That's a wrap." However, the very reality is that there are pieces of art that are meant to be observed again and again and again from different angles, different thought tracks, if you will. Perhaps you've seen someone make a video and they have different speed adjustments and color settings. They have different locations and what have you. An inexperienced teen, for example, may watch this again and again and not only not get it, but then be compelled to excessively swallow again and again and again as he tries to gain a handle on what is going on. While someone with more experience and more observational points of view could comparatively sit back and relax and write what could be the equivalent of an essay just off the first minute of the video. Pay close attention to the details, whenever it is a video, or perhaps the way someone dresses, the way someone wears their hair. Perhaps someone has, on the left part of their hair in front, two, let's call them spikes, and they are distanced from each other in a certain way. And then on the right, there are two more spikes that are distanced from each other in a shorter or longer way, or perhaps one is taller than the other. One could use an application called Photo Sounder, and in this example, They could take the 2 spikes on the left and run them at a certain BPM, let's say at the rate of 5. Not only will you have the beats per second of 5, but you will also have the curvatures in between. Should you choose to interpret them and pay selective attention, perhaps you will catch something and you will induce a whole nother state of consciousness fused with the 5 beats per second, but also in between, being able to then enter a state of consciousness where you assess one emotion while feeling another, perhaps in a therapeutic manner. Perhaps you go to a store and you see someone in very quote-unquote offbeat, colored, schemed clothes. Instead of thinking they're fashionably out, instead think, what is the message they are trying to convey? Why this color and that color? Why is your shirt this and why are your pants that? Why is your hair that? And not only by that, but whenever it's a short sleeve or a long sleeve, and not only that, but how they adjust that. Perhaps the skin, perhaps the curvatures by the hairs in their arms is also a statement. Not only short sleeve or long sleeve, but how it may be adjusted. Perhaps the hairs on their arms are also curvatures that could make a statement to complement the color scheme. And on top of that, the style of their movement, the tempo of their movement. They may move 2 of their arms at different rates. Perhaps there is a certain store. Perhaps there is a certain part of the store that they stand in that they also want to make a statement with. Perhaps you will see someone wearing a certain color scheme and what have you, and they may be standing in between a freezer full of ice and a rack with batteries. The art of interpretation and its many different pathways could easily lead potentially on what the observing individual has to say. What may be a 10-minute video, the observing individual may write an entire essay about as much as just 1 minute of it. The Art of Interpretation by Irwiny0, also known as Sam Lambert. Inspired by Count Morivond.